Hey there! Recently I've been getting a lot of questions and comments about people that want to get into modded Celeste but have no idea where to start. And that's pretty understandable, it's pretty difficult. So if you're one of those people that clicked on this video, you find yourself in the right place. Because I'm going to be here to compile a list of recommended maps to start out with, divided into 3 categories. Some quality of life mods or just things that are nice to have or fun to mess around with, as well as some useful resources and links to maybe help you out. But first I'll start with a brief introduction on how to even mod Celeste in the first place. This is pretty straightforward, so I'll keep it brief. First thing I'd say is I'd recommend joining the official Celeste Discord. I'll put a link down in the description. There's a modding category here with a modding welcome channel, completely walking you through how to get into modding yourself. There's also help channels here where there's plenty of people willing to help you out. I definitely recommend joining here if you're interested in modding Celeste at all. But basically to mod your Celeste, you head over to this page, which is also linked down in the description. Here you can download Olympus, which is required to install Everest, which is the main mod loader tool for Celeste. The page itself has pretty much everything you need to know. It's a pretty simple download. I'm sure you'll be able to figure that out. But if you need any help with it, don't be afraid to ask in the Celeste Discord or my Discord or even in the comment section. I'll be happy to help out. Okay, so once you have your Olympus and Everest set up, you have the main Olympus page here, where you have this big download mods button, which brings you to the featured page. There's a bunch of featured mods. You can also head over here, which is the most recently released mods. For most of you, this is pretty overwhelming since there's like a ton of mods out there. So what actually to play? Well, I will go over 3 categories of recommendations. First, just a list of a few mods that are generally just good starting points for getting into modded. Then a list of some pretty chill, easier maps to get into modded with. And lastly, a list with some more challenging map recommendations if you're looking for a bit more difficulty, but still doable to start with if you finish like everything in the main game. So the main recommendation that almost everyone always gives first, and is also just a really good starting point, is the 2020 Celeste Spring Community Collab. Spring Collab is currently the biggest Celeste mod and a giant collaboration between a ton of modders in the community. It has 5 lobbies of maps in ascending difficulty, each containing a gym area teaching and explaining all the tech you need for that lobby. I would definitely recommend this if you want to get into custom maps and also learn a lot of tech the main game doesn't teach you. Though be warned, this mod is huge and it has some pretty big difficulty steps between lobbies sometimes. So it's not a bad idea at all to also play some other mods at the same time while working your way through this one. Next up is Glyph, which released back in early 2020 but still to this day is one of the nicest and most polished looking maps out there. It's a relatively short campaign that averages around Farewell's difficulty. It has a very beautiful atmosphere and some really nice custom made music. This is personally one of the first mods I ever played and it's definitely a must play if you get into modded Celeste. Now, one of the most popular Celeste mods out there are Monica's D-sides, but they are generally pretty tough to get into for newer players. But for those people that still want to seek for a just a bit more challenging version of the main game with its own unique gameplay, there's also Arfimigon's D-sides. Arfi's D-sides are a lot easier, more beginner friendly than Monica's, so if those seem too tough for you, maybe give this one a try. Then lastly in this category of recommendations we have the Startup Contest and Midway Contest. These 2 mods have a variety of lower difficulty maps. As the name suggests, Startup Contest is dedicated to people starting out with modded Celeste. It's not the most well-polished set of maps, but it can still provide a fun challenge for most. Then Midway Contest is a lot more challenging, but also a lot more well-polished, and is personally one of my favorite contests I've ever played, and would definitely recommend playing through it once you feel ready for it. Now that we get that out of the way, if you're just looking for some smaller maps that are just really chill and easy to play, these next few maps are for you. First up is Cat Island, which is like a fan favorite. It's just like a very relaxing map. You can't even die in it. You just like explore this city where there's a bunch of cats. You go around petting cats and like you have a bunch of quests and things to do. It's really fun, chill mod to play. Would definitely recommend doing this. You can pet the cats. What else do you want? You can pet the cats. It's adorable. Please play it. Next up is the Road Less Traveled, which is just like a very nice atmospheric map. It's around A-side difficulty, it has a bunch of secrets, it's like really well made. Zolly is a great mapper. I don't have much else to say about it, it's just like a really well made polished mod that I would definitely recommend checking out if you're looking for more chill well made beginner maps. Then there's also Binary, which is a pretty short 2-map collaboration campaign. It has some very nice puzzly beginnerish gameplay with some custom mechanics. It's pretty neat, would definitely recommend checking it out. Now, I'm not going to talk about all the maps, so I'll just put a few more of the maps in this category on screen. All these maps are kind of similar to the ones I named before this, so any of these I would definitely recommend playing or checking out if you're into these type of maps. Then now, if you're looking for a bit more challenge, if you're like, I finished the main game 100%, I maybe tried some golds or something, I want a bit more challenge, I want like a step up for Pharaoh or like play stuff around Pharaoh difficulty, these next set of recommendations are for you. The first one being Conqueror's Peak. Conqueror's Peak is a map that kind of mimics Glyph's style in its own way. It has some interesting custom mechanics and a great atmosphere with fun gameplay. I won't spoil anything, but there's also a very cool surprise waiting for you at the end of this map, but you will just have to find that out for yourself. Next up is Into the Jungle, which is a full custom campaign featuring Madeline exploring a jungle over 5 different chapters, complete with secrets and B&C sites. This is a really high quality mod with some very cool aesthetics that shows pretty well what modded Celeste is capable of. Then we also have Nutty Noon, which is a pretty recent and very cute Kirby Returns to Dreamland inspired mod. There's a ton of secrets to explore, including an A and B side as well. This is a very cool looking mod with a lot of custom music and graphics that I would definitely recommend if you're a Kirby fan or not. Just like last time, I won't go over every recommendation in full detail, so here's a list with a few more. All of these are kind of similar to the other recommendations, so definitely make sure to check some of these out. Now quickly before we move on, if you really feel like you want a bigger challenge, if you play through this map you want something even harder, or you already dabbled with like speedrunning or you finished all the goldens, here's a quick list of maps with like a lot higher difficulty than the previous ones, so please don't play these as your first mods unless you're super confident. But yeah, if you're looking for something even more challenging, here you go. Okay, so next I want to mention some quality of life mods, or just things that are generally nice to have or fun to mess around with. First of these being Speedrun Tool. Speedrun Tool has a ton of features, but the main ones that are nice to have from it are Save State Tool, allowing you to use save states to either practice things or just mess around with, as well as the ability to spawn binos anywhere to look around with. Then there's Celeste Task, which is mainly used for tasking but has some nice things for playing the game normally as well, like clean looking hitbox viewer and an info HUD with a lot of information. Probably won't really need it starting out, but I wanted to mention it anyways since I get a lot of questions where these things come from. Next there's also the Extended Variants mod. It's like the normal game's variant feature, but with a lot more options for it. Generally just a fun thing to mess around with. Another big one to mention would be Celeste Net, which is a mod that allows you to play Celeste online with other people. You can make a private lobby and play with your friends, or just mess around with people in the main lobby. This is a very fun mod allowing you to play Celeste online. There's even some maps specifically designed around being played by multiple people. Then the final thing I want to talk about here is some cosmetic based mods. There's a ton of them. A big one being Hyperline, allowing you to customize basically everything to do with Melon's hair. Besides that, there's also just a ton of skin mods out there. I'd recommend just looking around for yourself if you're interested in these kinds of things. Now lastly, I want to go over some resources and links that might help you in finding more custom maps to play, or just to learn more about the modding community in general. First off, if you haven't already, I would really just recommend joining the official Celeste Discord server. There's a ton of people here talking about Celeste content every day. There's a lot of nice people here, a lot of people that will also be willing to help you out and teach you more about the game and the modding community. There's also a modding showcase channel where people post their new map releases, so you can kind of keep up to date on that. Then I also want to mention there's the Celeste Modding Central YouTube channel. Every once in a while there will be a Celeste Community Direct hosted here, which just as it sounds is just like a Nintendo Direct but for the Celeste modding community. It's quite cool, you can see a lot of the upcoming maps there. I'd just say subscribe to this channel if you want to. There's a lot of neat stuff here. Then there's also the Celeste Skill Rating server. Basically what Celeste Skill Rating Tracker is it's a big list of custom maps divided in different tiers of difficulty. You can kind of like work your way up in difficulty, find some more maps to play. Meanwhile having also an objective, trying to clear X amount of maps in a tier to like rank up. It's just a fun thing, it's just a way to find more maps to play really. Then lastly I want to mention the existence of my personal clear sheet. This sheet is basically just my personal list of every custom map I ever beat, including a difficulty rating and a personal enjoyment rating, including some stats and everything. Gotta keep in mind this is of course completely subjective to my opinions. It's not a perfect thing to take recommendations from. But I've heard some people in my community be like, hey, I checked out your list, I found some maps you enjoyed and enjoyed them as well. So it's definitely something you can use. There's also the difficulty reference chart. If you want to learn what the difficulties we have, you can take a look at this if you're curious. There's a lot of stuff on here. I just wanted to mention this real quick since like I made it myself and I'm pretty proud of it. So just making you aware of the existence. No, definitely not biased though, nope. The links to everything I mentioned in this video will be in the description in order, so you can find everything there. Alright, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that helped you find some stuff to play. Make sure to maybe like and subscribe. It would greatly appreciate it. I upload a lot of Celeste content. I also stream over on Twitch daily. I stream modded Celeste stuff there like every single day. I would greatly appreciate if you could check that out. Also, if you want any more map recommendations or want to talk about modded Celeste at all, you can also join my Discord down below. Good luck, have fun on all the maps you're going to play. Maybe consider sharing this video with someone else that might be interested in playing modded Celeste. Our community is very dedicated but still pretty small. And it's quite cool seeing it grow. So I'm glad to be making this video. But yeah, that's about it. Have an amazing rest of the day. See y'all later. Bye bye.